ladies and gentlemen, Jean Colaio Steinbeck.
On the morning of September 11th, I was in my apartment with my son. Of course, it was a beautiful day, and us, being lucky on the 27th floor, could see the magnificent view across New York City. We could see up north, and we can also see out east. And what I loved about looking out east was I can look out the window, hold my son, and I can say, Max, wave up to your uncles, Mark and Stephen, my brothers, on the 104th floor of the North Tower. They worked at Cantor Fitzgerald. At around 8:30, I put my son, who was 2, in front of the TV, and he watched Sesame Street while I was cleaning up, picking up Cheerios off of the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a tremendous, loud crash, and I ran to the window. I looked down, and I looked for an accident maybe on the West Side Highway. I didn't understand what that sound had been. And all I saw were people running all over the place. And then all of a sudden, I looked up. And what I saw was a large, gaping hole in my brother's building. The first thing I did was count. I knew where the Windows of the World restaurant was. It was about the 107th floor. So I looked up and I said, okay, 107, 106, 105, 104, we're good. The hole was in the 90s, I figured. So they were okay, and they'll get out. But me being the big sister, I had to save them. I grabbed my son. I was barefoot. I grabbed nothing else. I ran out my door, and I went down the elevator, the longest elevator ride in my life, and got out into the lobby and was heading out the door to the tower to go get them. I had hope that they would still be fine, they'd be okay. They stopped me at the door. The doorman stopped me and said, you cannot go out there. You can't go out. We don't know what's happening. You can't go out. So we stayed in the lobby, and it was mayhem. People were going in, going out. We saw people walking past the building, but no one really knew what was going on. And in that time, of course, we heard another crash. The South Tower had been hit. And we also heard the tremendous noise of the South Tower falling. But I still had hope. My brothers were fine. They're with their friends, and they were together, and they were going to get out. Finally, after that, they said, that's it, we need to get out of here, we need to evacuate. Everybody out. Everybody head north. So I walked outside with my son in my hand, and it was the first time now that I've seen what was happening. I looked up, and there was smoke and clouds and droves of people heading towards me, and my knees buckled, and I collapsed to the floor, and I couldn't move. At that very moment, 2 women out of nowhere, business clothes, both approached me and said, let's go, we need to go. And I couldn't move. I still couldn't move. They said, nope, that's it, let's go. One grabbed Max, one grabbed me, and they took me up that highway. We walked up the highway, thousands of people walking up that highway in silence. We did hear the fighter jets, and actually when people heard those jets, people physically ducked because they didn't know what else might be coming. But then, in the silence, someone said, "It's coming down." We all stopped in our tracks, and we turned and we looked, and we watched my brother's tower crash down. Again, to me, it seemed like it was in complete slow motion. And everybody stood in horror, just watching it go down almost floor by floor, down, down, down. I still remained hopeful that my brothers got out and that they were safe somewhere or in a hospital somewhere. We were evacuated, and we ended up all in a hotel on the east side, and it was our headquarters. And we all sat, we all had lists of hospitals, and we called one by one, everywhere. We called everyone we knew. The problem was no one had come to the hospitals. They said no one has arrived. It was not until I received the phone call that my brother, Stephen, was one of the first 15 to be identified. And at that point, I knew Mark was with him. All hope was lost. It gave me comfort to know that they were together. I couldn't go and save them as the older sister, but there was some kind of comfort knowing they were best friends, I say, from Little League to Wall Street, and they were together. So they gave each other comfort. A few years later, 2 years later, to be exact, on Easter Day, well, I'm Catholic, and Easter is one of our holiest days, and it is the symbolism for resurrection and hope. On Easter Day 2003, I gave birth to twin girls. I looked down at the babies, and I found new hope. Thank you.